What's up, everybody? Got a real good one here for you. We are talking fantasy football 2025 already, and we're talking about who the first overall pick should be for this season. Now, we see it every single year. The copy and paste rankings are already beginning. I'm taking a look at some early rankings, and the Consheeps are back at it again, and they haven't learned their lesson, and they never will learn. That's why you guys got to stay glued to the channel for the only channel delivering the truth. Now, I'm going to continue on with NFL news as well. Trending headlines, news stories, NFL drama, truth to sports, rigged sports. I'm going to keep that going here on the channel, but I got to stay true to what this channel was built on, which is fantasy football. So I'm going to be discussing who the first overall pick should be. We're going to talk some early rankings talks right now, right here, right now. If you're on a new channel, smash it, tap it, slap it, to stay in the loop for everything NFL news. And also, I'm going to start doing some other news if there's anything on UFC or anything interesting or trending, newsworthy. I will keep you guys in the loop as well. So turn on that bell, hit subscribe, and drop it below. I want to make this interactive as per usual. Subscribe below and make it interactive. Drop a name. Who do you think should be the first overall pick for fantasy football 2025 before I reveal mine? Love to get your feedback below as we dive right in here right now. Back in the SUV here. Love these SUV rants. Got a fresh fade today, showing the fade. Need some gel, obviously. Get ready to pick up my kids. And I just love doing these vlogs. I love making it interactive, having an open discussion with you. If you're passionate about fantasy football, that's why I want to make this interactive. I'll try to get back to as many comments as I can. We have a discussion. We have these daily discussions here, ranting and raving about fantasy football and sports, what we're both passionate about, what we're all passionate about, I should say. All right, so let's talk about the first overall pick. The way I'm looking at it right now and what the Consheeps have laid out is Saquon Barkley and pretty much Ja'Marr Chase, which were the top guys last year. They've got them on top again. No coincidences. I guess the big question comes and everyone is asking is, can Saquon Barkley do it again? So let's talk about historically, can running backs do it? And typically the straight answer would be no, coming off pinnacle years, coming off Super Bowl hangover. But I just think there's something special about Saquon that, I still think he's got more juice left, although that Super Bowl hangover and a pinnacle year definitely is concerning. The only thing that could really take him down is injury. Could he get injured? Possibly. It could happen to anybody though, but it's just going to be so hard to duplicate those numbers. Let's go back last year. Everybody was on CMC. I was the only one telling you not to draft Christian McCaffrey. Don't do it, right? A couple years ago, it was like, Cooper Kupp. Years before that, it was Michael Thomas. Last year was CeeDee Lamb. Everybody had CeeDee Lamb as a top wide receiver. When players have pinnacle years, particularly running backs, it's very highly unlikely that they will duplicate those numbers. I cannot emphasize this enough. So based on historical numbers and knowing that Saquon Barkley is going to be a top 2, top 3 pick. He's not going to fall past the 3rd pick. I'm telling you, for fantasy football 2025, it's not going to happen. He's just going to be a top 3 pick. Based on that price, I don't know if I'm ready to pay it. So you're going to say, well, who's going to be, the first overall? I'll get to that in a second. The main thing you do want to do, however, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos when we're talking fantasy football draft strategy, is you want to make sure that you do go robust RB. We saw it every single year. Right? We saw the scarcity at running back. We saw this position fade really quickly and people wasting early round draft capital on wide receivers that bust. Tyreek Hill, perfect example last year, absolutely crapped the bed. Puka Nacua was an early round draft pick. How about Deebo Samuel and Ayuk, both round 2 to 3 picks? I told people to stay away from that, right? You get value later. You get the Brian Thomas Jr. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. is significantly inflated. So I'll do a whole wide receiver episode tomorrow. He's a top 10 wide receiver, a guy that I was telling you in 16 rounds to get. By the way, you can pre-order 16 rounds right now. I've linked it below right here, okay? Grab 16 rounds. Get it right now. You can pre-order it. Get in. If you want to actually win your leagues, if you care about your team, 16 rounds actually going to win. No copy and paste stuff, okay? So ultimately the question is, can Saquon do it again? It's possible, but highly unlikely because injuries come in, fatigue sets in, regression sets in. Again, only 9 running backs have achieved a 2,000-yard rushing mark achievement. Nobody's ever done that. 9 running backs have done that. And for Saquon to do it twice, no running back has ever done it twice, rushed over 2,000 yards twice in their career. So is he going to hit 2,000 yards? Probably not. Well, you can say, well, Joe, a little bit of a regression is okay. I'll take 1,800 yards. I'll take 1,700 yards. Sure, of course you will. And that's very possible, right? I also see Derrick Henry coming off very early as a top 5, top 6 pick. A guy who I believe could have had his last hurrah. The guy's well over 30 years old. He kind of blew his load last year. And again, this past year I said, yeah, I'm drafting Henry. But the last year I'm doing it. Right? So I'm really just waiting kind of to see. It's a wait and see. It's very early. We're talking, what is it, February 12th? and I'm talking fantasy football. But it's just a kind of a wait and see how the drafts happen. Ashton Genty's come in, see where if he lands. If he lands on the Cowboys, that could be very appealing. Cowboys have just not been efficient at the running back position. They haven't been, producing a top running back really in fantasy since Zeke when he was a full workhorse. Hopefully they do that with Genty if they end up drafting him. So a lot of things still have to unfold. So who is the first overall pick? Well, it's definitely not a wide receiver, because you can get the value later. There's going to be other wide receivers coming into the wide receiver 1 slot. You're going to get value with a bunch of other guys. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a better value this year. There's so many quarterbacks and question marks. Sam Darnold's, a free agent. A lot of people drafting Jefferson this year. He's going to be a top receiver, right? Then you got, again, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm just not sold on Kyler Murray. I think that Arizona should move on from Kyler Murray. I know they paid him a lot. So, again, I just think the quarterback does make the wide receiver. It's all about the quarterback. So when you are drafting a wide receiver, particularly in the first round, you got to make sure that that quarterback is in a good position to deliver to that wide receiver. So I'm ruling out wide receivers right now. I'm aiming to get a running back, as I always do, and it's always worked out for me. I'm always in the finals. I'm always doing well, and so who is the first overall? Well, some candidates could easily be Bijan. And people say, well, Joe, you're not pronouncing it right. Bi is in bi-weekly, Jan is in Ran, Bijan. People say Bijan, Beejjhon. It makes no sense when he tells you that's how you pronounce it. I don't care what he says. I pronounce things the way they sound. Bijan, right? So Bijan is easily the number 1 overall pick and makes more sense to be the pick. And then there's Gibbs as a consideration as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But Bijan is in a position where I still think he's trending upwards. I don't think he's hit his peak. There's been coaching issues with Arthur Smith a couple years ago. There's been quarterback issues. Is Penix going to be the main guy this year? Is that going to benefit him? How's that offense going to look? I think they should move on with Kyle Pitts as well. He's not good, right? Maybe they're going to get more receiving options. What's going to happen there? How's the O-line going to look? So many things are going to happen after the draft, but Bijan is in a great position to succeed, who I still think has room to grow, still has room to trend upwards, where Saquon is definitely on a regression year. You can only go down from where he came from. So you've got Bijan, who's going to probably trend up. You got Saquon, who's going to go down. Where are they going to meet? What's their yardage? Could it be the same? Is Saquon due for an injury? Is he going to be Super Bowl hungover? Right? All good questions. You got to ask yourself this. So ultimately, I think Bijan is in a better position to be a first overall pick. I'd rather have him than Saquon. And the cool thing is you can get him a little later. You can get him in the 4th, 5th pick. How about Jahmyr Gibbs? What do we do with Jahmyr Gibbs? Listen, great talent. And I looked at the numbers. I extrapolated them. I put them all out on a spreadsheet. And without Montgomery there, this guy would have broke every single running back record. We're talking fantasy, reality, rushing yards, scrimmage yards. He would have had over 500 plus fantasy points without that pest that is Montgomery. But unfortunately, that's what you're dealing with when you drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, you're saying, well, Joe, Jahmyr Gibbs is still putting up top 10 numbers with Montgomery there, but Montgomery got hurt last year. And could it happen again? Maybe that was his injury, last injury. Now he's trending upwards, right? So many variables, but it just bothers me. I don't care any way you slice it and dice it. It bothers me that Montgomery is going to be there and take it away 180 to 210 rushing attempts. That is a big bother to me, especially for a guy I'm drafting with a top 3 pick. And I love Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs should be the workhorse running back if the Lions want to win. They want to play the best player on every down, and every time you hand the ball to Montgomery, you're missing a pass, a potential explosive play. So listen, it's very early, but it depends on where I fall in the draft. Am I like 7th overall pick and Gibbs is there and Bijan's gone and Barkley's gone, I may consider Gibbs, right? But when we're talking first overall, I still think Bijan, based on volume, opportunity, talent, youth, he's still a great running back. I just want to see what the Falcons do, who's under center, how that's going to look. I heard Kirk Cousins, I heard a report saying that he's still good for years to come. We'll have to see about that. But again, the big thing here for me is like volume, opportunity, and I want to make sure I don't get a regression candidate, which happens every single year, which is the copy and paste stuff. We don't want to fall into that trap. But let me know what you guys think below. I'd love to get your feedback on this for sure. Drop it below and let me know who you would draft first overall for Fantasy Football 2025. Leave it below. Okay, guys? Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment below. Let me know who you would draft first overall. I told you, I think Bijan, the way that it sits right now in February, but it's very, very early. It's very, very early in the season, right, in the off season for us to talk about it. But again, this is just consideration. We've narrowed it down. Running back, we've narrowed it down. Bijan, we've talked about Saquon Barkley possibly regressing. and Gibbs being in a committee. But those are the kind of the guys I like in the first top 5 picks. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the thumbs up. And yeah, so much to talk about here, but I'm going to keep these daily rants coming to you so you guys are on top of everything. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Appreciate you guys. I got to go pick up my kids. Talk soon. Have yourself a great day. I'm out.